Right then, welcome back to the channel. It's Manchester United, right? So there's always something going on, and it feels like there's always bloody drama. Now, I feel like there's stuff going on with the gaffer at the moment, and it feels like there's some stuff kind of circulating with Ruud van Nistelrooy as well. I don't know if someone's kind of subtly kind of said that there's something going on, or if there's genuinely something going on, and this is kind of like the fallout a little bit from that. Now, obviously there's been growing speculation surrounding the managerial setup, and it seems like the last 48 hours or so, a lot of that has shifted towards Ruud van Nistelrooy, both in a pro and anti-Ruud van Nistelrooy sort of stance. And only at Manchester United do we start getting propaganda against a bloke who's not even in the position that they're giving him the anti-propaganda for. Like, it's genuinely mind-blowing. Like, people are already, like, aligning their sides for an appointment that may not even get made. Roll that round your head. It's not even like he's definitely going to be given an appointment. People are just going, well, in case he does, just want to let you know, I'm fucking against it already. Does that not blow anyone's fucking mind? Anyway, it might be the case that Ruud van Nistelrooy is some sort of potential contingency plan as an interim manager if things don't improve under Ten Hag. Maybe that was the plan all along. Maybe that was the Ineos plan all along, in the fact that they appointed two head coaches as assistant coaches behind a head coach. Now, I think what's intriguing that both the pro and the anti-Van Nistelrooy sentiment that seems to be emerging across social media and reports does suggest that there's a deeper narrative at play. And the pro-Van Nistelrooy camp obviously see him as a club legend. They're seeing him with a little bit of tactical insight. And the anti-Van Nistelrooy camp obviously raised concerns about no top-level managerial experience and the quite sudden exit from PSV. Now, there's a tweet from United report that reflects some of the anti-Van Nistelrooy sentiment, questions the move bringing him to a high-pressure role like an interim manager. Tweet also points out the concerns about his managerial abilities, criticise the notion of appointing another club legend as a stopgap measure, compares it obviously to the past decisions that seemingly were more rooted in nostalgia than tactical reasoning. Echoes the feelings of probably a sizable percentage of the fan base who worry that the club might be setting up for another interim appointment rather than any sort of long-term succession planning, even though there's, within this web that's been weaved, an actual potential that Ruud van Nistelrooy might have always been appointed with this appointment in mind. With Ten Hag under pressure after an admittedly shite start to the season, the speculation just is intensifying. And you better fucking believe if we lose tonight, do you think it's going to slow down? Do you think it's going to get better if we do not win tonight? Or do you think it's just going to absolutely turbo up? Yeah, you knew. The speculation's only going to get worse. Now, Van Nistelrooy does have a pretty solid coaching pedigree. He did lead PSV to a couple of major trophies, the Cup and the Johan Cruyff Shield. He kept them competitive in the Eredivisie and in Europe, but the departure from PSV was abrupt and a little bit unexpected. Supposedly that was due to disagreements inside the club hierarchy. Despite his success, there are question marks around his ability to handle the pressures of managing the club and of managing a club the size of Manchester United. Now, we know Ruud, like, we had him on Vibe with Five a long time ago when he was still only working with the under-19, so he's paid his dues, if you like, as a manager. He's gone and done the work, and he didn't want to just step into a big role. He's gone and learnt the trade, if you like. I think the introduction into Ten Hag's coaching staff obviously sparked theories immediately that his presence might not only be to assist. And that potentially straight away undermines or even, sits him in the right sort of spot to replace Ten Hag should things continue to deteriorate or fail to improve. Now, Van Nistelrooy, despite getting brought in as an assistant, is viewed by a lot of people as a ready-made replacement because of the coaching experience as a first-team manager and his stature as a legend at the club. Now, that dynamic sparks questions about whether United's higher-ups did so with the contingency plan in place. Why was it that we were talking to the likes of Gary O'Neill? Why was we talking to the likes of Kieran McKenna? Was they being interviewed to take over, or was they being interviewed for this very role that Ruud van Nistelrooy occupies at the moment? Now, I think there's some key questions that need asking. Has Van Nistelrooy's appointment inadvertently undermined Ten Hag's authority, or has it strengthened it? Ten Hag came here with the likes of Mitchell van der Gaag. They've since left. Has it strengthened or weakened Ten Hag's abilities inside the club? Was that arrival part of a broader contingency planning from Ineos from the start? Can a manager like Ten Hag suppress his own ego and allow room for assistance from not just Ruud van Nistelrooy, but the likes of René Hack, who is also a first-team manager with first-team managerial experience? Does he feel like his nose gets put out of place by the love that Ruud van Nistelrooy enjoys at the club? Because that might be something that he doesn't like. What do we make of reports that the players are gravitating towards Ruud van Nistelrooy in training? Is that suggestion of cracks in Ten Hag's leadership? And why do those reports come out? The timing of those reports coming out for me is always key. It's always key. Every single thing that comes out, you go, okay, 1, is this true? 2, could this be true? 3, why? Why is this out there? Why now? I'm not even getting into the Diddy stuff because I've got so many fucking questions about that. But, like, the timing of everything is as important as the information that comes out. Why now? Now, if Van Nistelrooy was to take over, does he have the tactical acumen and leadership to turn United around? Does he get, I mentioned this last week, does he get no black mark against his name for having a hand in where we find ourselves right now? Is it another nostalgic appointment that's destined to fail? Now, what we're witnessing now seems extra to the sort of typical manager and assistant kind of relationship. There is more at play here because of who Van Nistelrooy is, and whether Van Nistelrooy is a genuine help to Ten Hag or being kept as like the quick fallback option clearly remains to be seen. But the fact that there is both pro and anti campaigns forming around him at the moment, I feel like there's something brewing. Whether that's the club's higher ups positioning for a potential takeover if things don't improve, it depends on the results, doesn't it? Is it all noise? Is it a case of journalists wanting to just kind of write something fresh, so coming up with something along these lines? Like, what do you reckon's at play here? I mean, bosh it in the comments and let's see what you guys are saying. Mr. Peter says RVP is already coaching the players and still playing. I think he means Van Nistelrooy, but okay. Dylan says, I'm sick of trying to decipher through the constant flow of absolute shite by the media. Yeah. Andrew says, just watched the Stairmaster IRL stuff last night. Very enjoyable. On a side note, losing timber like a pro shows on your face. Yeah, I'm starting to see it a little bit on my neck as well. Must be honest. Starting to see it a little bit. Hostad says, harder for you, but recently I blacklisted everything to do with football, and it's been a lot easier with the disappointing results to cope with. Football is tainted by social media. I think our entire lives are a little bit tainted by social media, you know. In every sense. And I say this as someone who earns a living on social media. But there can be too much of a good thing. There's so much noise. And there's so much guff. And this might be more noise and more guff. It might be. But there is too much of that in there. You know? Chris says, off-topic question, how long do the paddock shirts usually take to ship? They generally get boxed up on a Monday and a Friday, and usually, if possible, sent the same day. Depends where you live. Notch says, can we please remember it's just football? Isn't it? Northwich Carl says, Ronaldo Brown's so anti-Ten Hag. Why? Well, because he has his own mind. Like, forever I get accused of telling people that work on the channel what to think. Never told anyone what to think, ever. You know, and Ronaldo's fucking evidence of that, isn't he? Because he has his own mind on that. I don't agree with him, but I'm not here to tell people what to think. I'm here to give my opinion, and he's here to give his opinion, and that's that. Alex says the media just need a new target. If Spurs would have lost, it would have been Ange. It wouldn't have been Ange because he doesn't sell enough papers. So it wouldn't have been Ange. It would have still been us. Ruben says, for me, it's the ride of being a United fan. Even when things go to shit, I'm just glad I support United. Cameron says, starting 11 looks good. Results are poor. At what point do we call this? Not yet. 3 years of excuses and it's still crap. Ta-ra, Fergie. How'd that turn out? Dan says, Ronaldo isn't sharp enough to follow Steve's orders anyway. He is. Ronaldo's very good at what he does. He is. He's genuinely very good at what he does. He comes out with some proper thick stuff at times, but he's good at what he does. Tiny says, journalists are ready to tug themselves off if we draw or lose tonight. It'll be a nervy one for fans. Yeah. Garazi says, what are my thoughts on Ten Hag? Benny's comments on Erik. I have concerns on Benny that if he says he is passionate, why didn't he installed it last year and why now point fingers at Ten Hag? Did you read the full quotes? Because I read the full quotes and I thought it was quite pro Ten Hag. He says Ten Hag's a little bit more reserved. I think you get that by looking at him. And also when you say a manager's passionate, I think people have a complete misunderstanding of player and manager relationships and what's possible. I mean, me and Joe spoke about this on Paddock the other day. If managers are so good at developing players, why didn't Fergie make a new Ronaldo and why didn't Pep just make a new Messi? You know, like there's some stuff that has to be. There's some stuff which has to be intrinsic in the players. Listen, for the most part, you can develop teams and team harmony and team strategy and team tactics, right? I absolutely believe that you can improve a football team by doing those things. What I don't think is as easy to do, but it's still doable. Like, you can still develop player understanding of that, but it has to be intrinsic with the player. For example, I got 15-year-olds that are training with my first team at the moment. One of the lads didn't know what I was asking for when I was talking about double movements and selling things. And I was asking him to kind of stay offside, and he was offside very often. But the point I was trying to make to him was I want him up high to stretch the pitch. And then when someone's got the ball, he was coming to feet for it. And I was like, no, stop coming to feet for it. You need to show like you want it to feet, but then get off in behind. And I was saying, explain, you only need a yard. You have to come short and then spin off in behind. Now, that's one tiny little tool, but it isn't going to make him have a better touch. It isn't going to develop an instinct in him for when a defender's moving in the right direction for him to chop back in on his other foot. Those are little tiny things that managers can help with in games. But so much of what a manager does is just about giving the players the confidence to be able to go and facilitate the things that they need. And it's a symbiotic relationship because the players have to want to improve. You know, you can't make a player... Look at best examples, Cristiano Ronaldo, right? That work ethic that Cristiano Ronaldo with is undeniable. Now, with the work ethic that Cristiano Ronaldo has, surely, if you as a manager, you would say, hey lads, especially when you're at Manchester United, why didn't Fergie say to the rest of the team, hey, you lot all do what Cristiano does? Why didn't he say that? Why didn't he say that to Evra and Rio and to Vidic and Carrick and all of them people of that era and that team? Because so much of what comes from a player, you can't tell them what to do. You can't tell a player to play with more passion. Imagine. You can't. Why didn't Dennis Irwin play with more passion? He didn't need to. It wasn't his game. He was good being cool and calm and collected. Michael Carrick. Why didn't Michael Carrick fucking smash people like like Roy Keane. Because he didn't need to. He was his own man. Socrates says, if Ten Hag was more charismatic, would the media and trigger-happy fans be more understanding of what he's trying to do and be more critical of the players? Maybe. Yeah. Maybe. The charisma, I nearly said charisma then, but that charisma side of stuff is important. It is important. Like, if the press have decided that they like you, then you get away with murder. Northwich Carl says, leaks still coming out. Who are the only players still in the squad since Jose, Ollie and Ralph said there are leaks in the club? There can still be new players coming in and leaking stuff. And it might not necessarily be players. Silver says, Steve hasn't Ten Hag repeatedly said that he appointed Ruud and Hake also confirmed it in the Rio interview. Yes and no. It's still going to be a club decision. Callum says, if Ten Hag goes, then Ruud can go too. I mean, even like, but people are the same people who was like, get the fuck Ollie out of this club, are the same people saying, get the fuck Ollie back in the club. Now, the problem with that is, again, it's way more of a team than people want to. Like, everyone wants to put it all on just one messianistic fucking manager, and it's not that. It's a team. It really is a team. Fergie couldn't do it on his own, never did it on his own. He had a team around him. He's the guy that makes the major decisions, and he's the one that has to tell the players the home truths, but it's a team. So it's a team whether it wins, and it's a team whether it loses. You know what I mean? China White says, on a plane from Singapore to London, 30,000 feet in the air, never miss a live show. Big performance needed tonight. Block the noise and get it done. It is a massive performance needed tonight. And I think the result is more important than the performance, but it'd be nice to have a good performance again, wouldn't it? MK Fox says, are we risking tainting another Legends rep with another new manager bounce? We just need to give somebody at some point, you're going to have to give someone time. You're going to have to give someone time. Notch says, precisely, players don't usually have meetings with coaching staff. Rurkov says, result number one. Let's try and get 3 points. Yep. Mulvaney says, I think the issue is that certain managers' personalities will click heavier with certain players, so teams' identity can vary heavily. Steve says, United fan base expectations are so inflated. We're probably the 7th best team in the league. Progress from last season's league finish and a cup run's all we can expect. He should keep his job. Sean says, if Ten Hag's going to act like a big club, if Ten Hag is going to act like a big club and cough up the till for Amorim. Oh, if Ten Hag is going, act like a big club and cough up the till for Amorim or Emery. Jamie says, what do I think of Hojlund, Rashford, Ahmad with Xerxes behind and Casemiro, Bruno? Yeah, I wouldn't mind that. It might not be the game for that one tonight, but I had something similar in my preview. I went with Ericsson to start in the 10 with Bruno and Casemiro. It was Bruno and Agati I went for. But yeah, I'm just wanting to see us try something different with the midfield three. Charles says, what's been missing since the Fergie days was the world against us doctrine that's instilled to the players from the academies to the seniors. It bonded the players' mission to disprove them. Yep. Will Wilcox impact the change in form? Everybody will have, like, whether it's a 5%, 10%, 15%, 25% impact, every single person should have an impact in this. Casual Racer says Ugarte is a dud. Mate, the guy's not even fucking 5 games into his career and you're already fucking throwing that out. It's insane to me, that. Jay says, why do fans think Manchester United project is appealing enough to bring in Nagelsmann, Emery or Amorim will end up with Southgate? I think United could still attract anybody that they wanted. I genuinely do. But I also genuinely fear that we would end up with Southgate. And I've seen so many comments saying, stop scaremongering about Southgate. It's not scaremongering. It's genuinely scared, right? they're saying that reputable journalists have said United are not in for him, right? And he's not on the radar. But think about how many journalists that we know. And some people are saying to us off the record, there's truth in it. So what do you want me to do? Pretend that they've not told me that there's truth in it? I'm fucking genuinely scared. Mulvaney says, in my opinion, Ten Hag's biggest issue is that he finds something what works and then uses that team for every game until it doesn't work. Yeah, I think there's a little bit of that. There was a flare, wasn't it? And maybe it came from confidence. Maybe it came from the confidence and the position that he'd built up over decades. But there was a casual confidence that Sir Alex Ferguson exuded, that it didn't matter what team he was going to put out, they were going to play the same way and they were going to fucking beat you. And he changed his team every fucking week. From about 98 onwards, Fergie changed his team every single fucking week. And then he somehow managed to keep these lads all kind of firing at the same time. It's a fantastic skill that he had to do that and to keep the team both competitive and hungry at the same time. You know, and that's why for me he's the greatest ever, because he was just sensational at doing shit like that. Christian says, hey Stephen, seems Ten Hag goes into a game with a specific game plan but doesn't have a plan B or C tactically when things go wrong. I think you're right. I think that would be a legitimate concern and complaint with him. In terms of when you look at how United lose when we lose bad, what happened was we would win and we would probably look good doing so. We don't really have games that are a little bit more of a sword fight. Either what we do works and it works great, or actually we get beat. And that's something he has to fix, that sort of ability on the fly. But if I remember right, first season, and this was the opposite last season, but if I remember right, first season, we were shit in the first half of games and then really good in the second half of games. Why was that? Who was the analyst? What was the instructions that they were giving to Erik Ten Hag? And how was he deciphering them and giving them to the players? Because whatever we did in the first half versus the second half in the first season was working. And then whatever we did last season was the opposite. We would go in at half time and we'd be like, right then, now we're going to lose. Shit. Like, it had the opposite effect on us. Achieve Greatness says, Cole Palmer, best player in the world. He is killing it. What do I think? I agree that he's absolutely killing it. I don't know if I'd call him the best player in the world. Why doesn't Pep get any grief for not playing Cole Palmer and allowing him to go? Because I'm seeing more grief about fucking McTominay going than I am about Cole Palmer being allowed to leave. JK says, bookies have Southgate at 4-1. He's a tactical nod, but he knows how to put an arm around the shoulder and the media will love it and sell it to us. Wait and see. Shaw will be back quick. I'm not even sure the old Southgate arm around the shoulder thing is even true. When you look at how he treated some of the players and how he ostracized certain players in the team, I don't even know if that myth has got any credence to it whatsoever. And when you actually listen to some people about talking about what's happened and why things have happened and this, that and the other, Wayne Rooney in an interview somewhere explained how England had already changed prior to Southgate coming in. Wayne Rooney sort of says he had a bit of a hand in everybody sitting together and stopping the cliques that existed between like United and Liverpool and Chelsea like in the earlier days. But yet Southgate gets the credit for that. Mulvaney says, it'd be funny to see English media do a 180 on Southgate and make him a villain. Be interesting. Ross says, you know why, it's because Pep and no one will ever criticise him. CTB says, could the difference in the second half performances down to managers working us out and adapting? Yeah, it could be, but then we was doing that to teams in our first season. That's absolutely what it is. So why are we no longer being the team that comes out the second half with fresh ideas and able to beat teams? Like, drill down into it. It's very simplistic to say, well, our manager's shit now. Okay, but why was he good in the first season? Like, let's go back to, can we find out why we did that? Sam says, Please let us see Rasmus and Xerxes together. Bruno behind at some point. It's all I want. Yeah, I agree. I would like to see that. Old Fart says, at least Southgate can set up a midfield, unlike our clown. Old Fart, mate. Have you had a serious head injury in recent days? Southgate knows how to set up a midfield. Southgate had one of the most blessed midfields at the Euros and failed to set that midfield up. He went into it thinking the world's worst right back is going to be a fucking good midfielder. Jesus, titty fucking Christ, mate. Fucking hell. Ed St. John says, maybe due to Bennett and other backroom staff leaving who were more hands on leaving the club. It could have a hand in that. Yeah, it could have. There could be teething problems as people figure out roles and responsibilities surrounding that. There's been so much upheaval at Manchester United in Erik Ten Hag's time. It's actually unfathomable. It's actually unfathomable, innit? When you think about from the ownership side of things to the issues that he had with both Maguire, with Ronaldo, with Sancho, with Greenwood, with Anthony, it's a fucking absolute madness. Like, there's been so much to deal with. How am I feeling if Bruno starts tonight? He's going to start tonight, isn't he? Isn't it? You're absolutely off your tits if you think otherwise. Jibak says, my problem with Ten Hag is that he found a working tactical approach using his principles, then dropped and tried to copy his Ajax setup, making it work here. He has the nous to do it, but too strong-headed. I never understand the he's too strong-headed or too stubborn argument about coaches. Football managers have to be stubborn and pig-headed and deluded in their own self-belief, because it's a very, very lonely job when things don't work out. And can you imagine, me and Ronaldo talked about this on XG the other day, can you imagine if every single day, you can imagine the amount of people telling them you need this tactic or this tactic or this tactic or this tactic, right? You can imagine, right? And now if you're not a strong-minded, strong-willed person with the absolute core belief in the way that you're playing is working, geezer in the petrol station, oi, Eric, you should be playing a back three. And he goes, okay. And he plays a back three. And then the next week, someone's like, what the fuck are you playing a back three for? Play back four. Go back to a back four. Oi, why is Bruno playing in the 10? Put him in the 6. You put Bruno in the 6. Like, you're just going to constantly fucking change everything. You can't be a yes man like that as a manager. You have to just be able to say, here's what we're doing, and I believe in that. Now, you also have to be open to listening to ideas, but that's where the very best managers in the world can decipher the things that are going to work and they're useful to them and dismiss the things that are just noise. And that's what Sir Alex Ferguson was great at. Sir Alex Ferguson was always looking at innovation. He was always looking at trying to bring people in, but he also had his own mind as well. Booth says 6 wins in the last 19 Premier League games. That's insane. Why are we bringing in form in the Premier League from last year? We know it was bad. Does he not get a fresh start? Like, Ineos did a fucking review on the guy and went, okay, this is our guy going forward. And it ain't great from this season onwards. But it's like Ineos drew a line under what happened last season and went, okay, some mitigation towards that. Let's move forward. Daniel says, our fan base is the problem. Just support the team until he's gone and the next guy comes in. The negativity online could be a factor in why our players seem scared and uninspired. Could be. What would my preferred formation be? I do like 4-2-3-1 because it adapts to other formations very simply and very easily. But I also like 4-3-3. It depends. If you've got a number 10 who's a dictator that's going to create stuff for you in the final third, rock a 4-2-3-1. If you want to be a bit stronger in midfield and you've got a few number 8s that are quite good, go with a 4-3-3. Tiny Pixel says, I get that, but he had patterns of play and a little bit of style in the first few games, then reverts back to balls to the wall and hopes for the best. Even the subs during the games have been iffy. Poet says 4-4-2 diamond. Dylan says, it feels like the squad is lacking aggression and desire that we had in Ten Hag's first season. Is it just a coincidence issue or down to the coaching staff or both? I think those sorts of things generally are player. I don't think a manager can say, hey, be aggressive. That doesn't fucking work like that, does it? You have to choose and select aggressive players if you want to have an aggressive team. As my minimum expectation for Ten Hag changes before the season? No, I want to see progress, and I think progress would be top 4 finish and a trophy. What about a back 5? I'm not really a fan of back 5s. Majorly because you don't see teams attacking with 4. And that's why. Aaron Jimenez says, United released a statement saying, Shaw will be back after the international break. Who do I think he will / should go with? Do I think he will / should go with England so close to coming back from injury again? He's a fucking idiot if he does. Genuinely. An absolute fucking idiot if he does. Because he's played 5 times for United this year and 3 times for England. And that's absolutely not fucking good enough, is it? Like, everyone said, like, okay, you're going to go to the Euros without playing for United? All right, just make sure you're fit for the first game of the season. Meanwhile, here we are in October, still not fucking played a game for us or had a minute of pre-season just yet. It's unacceptable. Unacceptable. Bobatov says, what style of play do I think the current squad suits? Surely that should be the deciding factor on any new... Probably the style of play that we're playing. We just got to get good at it. Sometimes it can just take time. It can just take time. And Emery's going to get a lot of love at the moment. He genuinely is. Is the expectation at Villa helping him? Because it's maybe not quite as high as it would be at a place like United. Mario says, Steve, recruitment is important. Don't have the players to win the league, but isn't that the fact we consistently get smacked up by Brighton and Brentford's down to bad management? Yeah. But it's also down to are the players good enough to beat Brighton and Bournemouth and Brentford? Yeah. Well, they should be beating them then. You've got to look into why did we lose those games. On a long enough timeline, yes, the manager ends up being at fault. But on individual games, with individual mistakes, you know, they have to be mitigated for and they have to be looked into and then they have to be assessed. And if it's the same reason, let's say the goalkeeper, it's not because he's played well this year, but let's say if the goalkeeper's constantly costing you games, you have to fucking change the goalkeeper. Teams improve by raising the floor of the team. Now that can be the mistakes in a defence, or that could be the lack of goal scoring or chance creation further up the pitch. And I feel that's what we're doing at the moment. Is that we're looking all right in loads of areas, but we're really not scoring anywhere near enough goals. And goals take the pressure off the rest of the team. You know, you're not pushing as hard for a goal for a third or a fourth as you would be for an equaliser or a goal at 0-0. When you've got goals behind you, you can relax, you can keep hold of the ball, you can make teams come to you and you can make them make mistakes. But, you know, it is what it is. We're giving away goals early in games and then you're fucking chasing your tail from early doors. It's a nightmare scenario. You just got to hope it comes good. And if it don't come good, well, the guy's going to be out on his fucking ear, innit? Very simple. Anyway, I'm not going to stay here too long, but I'm going to wrap it up now. And I will be back after the game later if you want to come and join us after the game. Let's hope it's a win, mate. Hey, shall we? And if you'd like to go and check out some hiking content, we filmed another video yesterday. So go check it out on Howson IRL. And cheers for tuning in. And we've got a podcast coming with myself and Janine. Episode 2 is going to be Zombie Apocalypse. So very interested to know what some of your thoughts are. So head over to the IRL channel, get in the comments and give us your questions, thoughts, ideas, contingencies, everything for all that sort of stuff over on the IRL channel. But cheers for tuning in, and I'll catch you lot after the match. See you in a bit. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, five-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.